maybe. Actually, this is a souvenir from Holy celebration. In Delhi, I enjoyed too much this year. This is the first year in India that I enjoyed for the first time. Then a bit injured here, so I was a bit nervous about this. But this morning, someone in the hotel told me that this looks like a tikka. Right, so now I'm proud of it, and now I feel it is closer to the Indian friends. So now I'm good feeling now. So my company, the NRI, is a Japanese consulting and IT firm, as well as the think tank, which has longest history in Japan. In charge of the strategy and operational consulting, including DX and AI introduction, covering automotive, energy, and other fields. I'm pleased to address the Japan-India Mobility Summit 2026 and to share our view on how the two great economies can co-create the next generation of mobility in India and to be a benchmark in the world. So I will take you through three main sections. The first one is future of Indian mobility and the energy roadmap, where the market is headed and why. The second is our points of view on alternate powertrains, the policy, stakeholders, and technology mix that makes sense for India. The third, the Japan-India collaboration opportunities across mobility. What is already happening and where the gaps lie. So let's begin with the macroeconomic backdrop. So India's economy is now being powered by three interlinked growth engines. The first is manufacturing. The automotive sector alone contributes roughly 50% of the manufacturing gross value added. And energy, the rapid expansion of power generation, but also a soaring dependence on imports, which is a bit risky situation because of the geopolitical situation. And third, the IT software that accounts for about 24% of total gross value added. The automotive ecosystem is the largest component of the national manufacturing base, while the IT sector supplies the digital backbone needed for future mobility services. Then, what is the key drivers shaping the automotive industry here? Three policy-level drivers dominate the Indian automotive landscape, which has been already introduced at the previous session. The first is energy security. The oil imports are projected at 71 billion in fiscal year 2025, with 89% of the nation's oil demands being imported. By 2050, India's oil consumption could reach 88.2 million barrels per day. It is a huge number. And second, the import dependency. Auto components imports rose 3% in the fiscal year 2024 to almost 21 billion US dollars. The sector already represents 2.5% of GDP. Thirdly, the carbon emissions. India is the third largest CO2 emitter. Transportation accounts for 14% of total emissions. So these constraints push policymakers, OEMs, and consumers towards diversified, low-carbon powertrains. The roadmap is a phased, technologically agnostic plan that reflects government targets and market realities. Currently, the legacy fleet, the pre-April 2023, to be phased out by 2032. CNG incentives continues, and E10, the ethanol blend, becomes mandatory. This is the current situation. Then for the midterm after 2030, the E20, the 20% ethanol, becomes compulsory for all new vehicles from April 2025 already. And EV penetration begins with 2- and 3-wheelers mainly, and flex-fuel pilots, such as the Maruti Suzuki Franks or Tata Punch showcased. And for the long term, 2030 onwards, the E30 and beyond under discussion, and methanol, ammonia, hydrogen, the technology development, initially for commercial vehicles. And biodiesel, our blending target is rise gradually as well. So the plan is deliberately inclusive. The mix of EV, CNG, flex fuel, biodiesel, hydrogen, and methanol is intended to hedge against supply side risk while enabling gradual decarbonization pathway. Then this is our latest NRI forecast, shows the share of each powertrain in the total vehicle fleet. By 2035, the EV will penetrate 36%. Hybrid electrical vehicles, HEV, will penetrate 15%. CNG as well, 18%. Petrol and diesel declining sharply, together falling below 30% by 2035. The curve is driven by three forces: stricter emission norms, improving battery economies, and the government's E20 mandate. Then next is the point of view of alternative powertrains. So India has articulated three guiding principles that frame every mobility decision, that are energy security, import dependency reduction, and carbon emission reduction as introduced. Stakeholder perspectives differs, yet they converge on a need for a multi-track approach. For the government, the diversifying energy sources is only interesting, and different powertrains will tackle different economic challenges. For the OEMs, have to serve late adopters and minimize supply chain exposures while EVs scale. Consumers, a range anxiety of EVs there, and the availability of HEVs and CNG are as transitional options, and ethanol blending should not result into a fuel prices burden. Reflecting it on the right-hand side, all of the alternative powertrains to be promoted: EV with the PME drive incentives, HEV with initially included in the FAME scheme, CNG accelerated with the city gas distribution networks and compressed biogas blending, and hydrogen with the national hydrogen mission, and the flex fuel enforce E20 2025 and keep the policy space open for E30 or even higher roads. A key barrier to EV adoption has been the high impact costs of batteries and the power electronics. Our model assumes ICE localization 71.4% today and rising to 78% by 2030. And the EV battery localization 20% in 2020, scaling to 60% by 2030. If we assume like this, even with the current import duties, by 2030, all powertrains will have comparable total cost of ownership because the domestic component production will offset the initial price premium of EVs. And for the carbon emission, when we calculate well-to-wheel emissions, two alternative powertrain standards, that is hybrid and CNG, that offers the largest near-term reduction up to 30% lower CO2 versus conventional ICE. And EV benefits depends heavily on the electricity mix. By 2030, we anticipate 25% renewable generation, the rest still coal heavy. Even with this mix, EV become competitive if the grid decarbonizes faster. So our assumption also factor in distribution losses, improving from 21% today to 19% by 2030, and a 1.85% fuel efficiency improvements year on year. When we focus on biofuels, it is promoted due to benefits. One is energy security, cuts oil imports and saving $4 billion per year once E20 is fully adopted. Second, the carbon emission. The ethanol blends can reduce hydrocarbons, CO2 and VOCs by roughly 20%. And thirdly, and further, the number of positive side effects exists, such as generating employment, increasing farmer income, and such. So because of that, the not only government initiatives, major OEM initiatives also illustrate market traction, such as Toyota, the demonstrating a strong hybrid flex-fuel prototype that can run 100% on ethanol while retaining an EV mode. And Suzuki and the NDDB, National Dairy Development Board, signed MOUs to develop dung-based compressed biogas plants in Gujarat, targeting automotive fuel quality biogas. And the biofuel ecosystem is a kind of, it's known as a classic circular economy, but also in making a good spiral for economy as well. That is, first step is agricultural waste will be utilized as a biomass, as a feedstock. Then it will boost rural economy with a new income for farmers. Then it will enhance purchasing power of farmers. Then demand in rural markets for vehicle will be increased. Then the local self-sustaining economy will be formulated. So biofuel economy ecosystem will raise this kind of very positive loop in the rural economy. So now, I'd like to focus on the collaboration area in the future. India already hosts several co-creation models led by Japan and also multinational players such as IIT Hyderabad and Suzuki. They have joint research on next-gen mobility challenges. And Nagaro built a standardized AWS API gateway for Maruti Suzuki, linking finance, dealership, and mobility services. BMW and Tata Technologies for software-defined vehicle (SDV) development. Bosch and Tata collaboration on local semiconductor. And Bosch and Sargon AI, the startup for intelligence cockpits. If I deep dive for the multinational companies cases, because for Japan cases, it should be deep dived in the further sessions. So for the first case, the BMW, the TechWorks in India, is a joint venture where the BMW supplies vehicle technology and funding, and Tata Technologies provides engineering talent and software delivery capacity. The partnership focuses on SDV platforms, enabling over-the-air updates, modular architecture, and rapid failure rollout. And the middle case, the Bosch and Sargon AI, are still at the MOU stage, but a functional voice AI demo for Indian language infotainment has already been showcased, paving the way for AI-driven intelligent cockpits across OEMs. So both cases underscore the importance of IP sharing, talent pooling, and local execution to meet India's scale and cost targets. Now, moving into future scenario, which will have impact to the future collaboration. By 2035, the India's megacities will evolve into AI-driven electric ecosystems. For the powertrains, EVs and hybrids dominate passenger cars, and 2 to 3 wheelers adopt swappable battery models, and biofuels remain a niche for heavy-duty use. Public transport and mobility services, the bus, the battery as a service, AI micro cars, and urban air mobility (UAM) options appear as subscription-based offerings. For the infrastructure, chain-lane highways, AI-based traffic management, vertical parking, real-time pollution monitoring is there, and fast charging and battery swap stations become ubiquitous, integrated with the grid for vehicle-to-grid (V2G) services. And its economic impact, the roughly 50% of the vehicle fleet will be electric or hybrid, creating new revenue streams for OEMs, energy utilities, and mobility as a service platforms. Then, what about the semi-rural areas? In the semi-rural belts, the transition is slower, but equally transformative. For the powertrains, petrol and CNG continues to dominate. Biofuels gain traction from local agricultural residues. EV adoption is limited to L3 autonomous shuttles and electric rickshaws for intra-town travel. For the infrastructure, the RCC paved road and upgraded state highways are listed as metro projects, CNG bus network as the backbone of intercity public transport. And energy access, the moderate CNG station density, nascent charging points, and a growing grid that still relies heavy on coal. For its social economic impact, the electric rickshaws become the primary public transport model. Biofuel plants generate rural employment, and CNG buses improve labor mobility for agricultural and industrial workers. Thus, while the technology mix is different from the metro cities, the overarching goals, energy security, emission reduction, and inclusive growth remain aligned. Then, where is the promising area of collaboration? Our impact likelihood matrix isolates the most promising domains for joint investments. The x-axis is the likelihood to be realized, and y-axis is impact to Indian economy. We define the items on high impact and high likelihood, the right-hand side and above, as scalable engines, which contains localized xEV component manufacturing such as battery cells, power electronics, and motor drives, EV and battery as a service, subscription models, fleet leasing, and data platforms. Software-defined vehicles, SDVs, global capability centers in India, providing 24/7 development, testing, and OT updates. AI and quantum for targeted segments, that is for autonomous driving, predictive maintenance, demand forecasting, and route optimization. And battery circularity, recycling plants, material recovery, and energy grid technologies such as smart grid control, V2G, renewable integration. Then let me try to turn them to the overview into actionable partnership themes. We propose the following 6 or 7 pillars. One is xEV component localization, joint venture or technology licensing agreements to set up battery cell, inverter, and motor production lines. Secondly, the EV inverse platforms co-develop a leasing class service model for 2 and 3 wheelers. And thirdly, the energy grid integration, collaborative projects that couple hardware control, that is smart chargers with V2G inverters, with network optimization algorithms. Fourth, the battery circularity, establish the recycling joint ventures, leveraging Japan's advanced hydrometeorological process and India's waste collection logistics. And the fifth, the quantum and advanced AI, set up a joint research projects focused on quantum-enhanced optimization for mobility supply chains and autonomous driving perception. And next-gen battery chemistry, that is solid-state sodium-ion, joint R&D centers and pilot factories to accelerate high energy density and low-cost cells. So each pillar is against with what Japan brings, technology leadership, IP, quality systems, and what India offers, such as scale, cost advantage, abundant feedstock, and market size. So in summary, the India's mobility future is multifaceted, a blend of EVs, hybrids, CNG, and biofuels, shaped by energy security imperatives, import dependency concerns, and climate commitments. Japan's technological depths and India's scale together form a powerful engine to accelerate this transition. Now, this is the right time to begin and accelerate, as stated in the previous session. I propose all stakeholders, government agencies, OEMs, and components manufacturers, startups, and investors to join the co-creation journey outlined today and make the Japan-India Mobility Partnership a benchmark for the world. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to our further discussion.